What is good, gamers? I'm Sean Fox and you're watching PlayStation News Now, your source of news, rumor, reviews and video game discussion. It is December, day 10, a slow week indeed for news, but Chris Cobb of middleofnowheregaming.com has a pretty interesting article regarding Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll give you the gist of what Chris wrote, but I've changed a few things to reflect my own take on the subject, so this is not the original article verbatim. The article is called "The Internet Hates Final Fantasy VII Remake Already." So, after a surprise E3 2015 reveal, the hype for the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer went from hero to zero the second longtime fans learned the game would be an episodic release, or so many, including myself, initially thought. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually being released in multiple parts, a very unexpected turn base of events. Okay, my bad for that pun, it couldn't be helped. But is this such a bad thing? So, for those who may have been too young at the time to remember, or may not have much background history of this much loved entry into the Final Fantasy franchise, here is some brief history on the original Final Fantasy VII. And it's a turn-based JRPG. Turn-based, it's a bit like a game of chess. You move, then I move. And was released way back in 1997 exclusively on PlayStation 1 because that was the only system of the time that could accommodate the huge amount of data required for this game. Square was more synonymous with the Nintendo brand at the time, but as I say, PlayStation 1 was the only console on the market that was popular enough and had CD-ROM to do the game justice. So the game is seen, well, in this video you can see it has outdated graphics by today's standards, starring protagonist Cloud, Strife and friends as they traveled the game's world known as Gaia. Gamers still discuss the game's incredible intro and the ensuing assault on the Mako energy reactors owned by Shinra, the evil corporation. Safe to say the original Final Fantasy VII is still one of Square Enix's most successful games of all time. Cloud's story captivated players in a way no other video game had done before. Final Fantasy VII is still one of the most important games ever made and a must-play for everyone who claims to love the role-playing game genre. So fast forward to more recent days where we finally see some gameplay of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. What we saw was not the most turn-based active time battle combat of the original. In fact, it seems to be more in line with other Square Enix franchise Kingdom Hearts. We knew it would probably go this way, mostly because we were told as much shortly after the initial announcement, and I for one was overjoyed by what was seen in the new trailer. But the internet erupted with displeasure, as it often does. Now, the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children movie was full of ridiculously over-the-top action, with the featured characters showing feats of strength that are impossible by normal human standards. More than that, it set the tone and style for every return trip to Gaia, for better or for worse. Now, the director of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Tetsuya Nomura, is looking to finally align the story that started it all with this same tone and style. Well, it makes sense, nothing to worry about, except that shortly after Final Fantasy VII Remake's gameplay was shown, another bombshell was dropped on us. The game will be split into multiple parts and released over a presumably lengthy span of time. Supposedly the story and content for each part will be expanded to better resemble a full game, but the revelation was still jarring to most. If the internet erupted before, well, it went nuclear after the Final Fantasy VII multi-part revelation. That's no surprise, of course. Most of us seem to keep a finger hovering above the red button of the internet at all times, but my personal thoughts, well, I was caught off guard like everyone else and nearly suffered a similar knee-jerk reaction. Then I thought about it and read a few fan theories regarding this decision. How's about we take a gander at a few of the more intriguing ones? Now, what could possibly be added to Final Fantasy Remake to justify each part of a full game? As first, the answer isn't very clear, but consider it. The most obvious section of an overhaul is the overworld, a shrunken down representation of Gaia where a seemingly giant-sized cloud travels from location to location between plot points. I could easily see this map being rendered to scale in Final Fantasy Remake and populated with new towns and countless enemies, along with fresh side quests to accompany them. Certain sections like the opening could also be expanded to give us more time with the ragtag avalanche team of Wedge, Jesse and Biggs. More than that, however, the plot of several Final Fantasy spin-offs could be added into the project. Dubbed Compilation of the Final Fantasy VII, Square Enix launched a new initiative in 2003 to capitalize on Final Fantasy VII's popularity. In addition to the aforementioned Final Fantasy VII Advent Children movie, a PlayStation sequel titled Dirge of Cerberus released in 2006, while a PSP prequel to Final Fantasy VII, the much-loved Crisis Core, came in 2008. Further mobile games, anime shorts and books were part of this initiative as well, all of which could be potentially be incorporated into Final Fantasy VII's remake. Now, Tetsuya Nomura, one of the most influential and widely respected people in the video game industry, is heading up this remake. That alone should be fantastic enough, if it not for his habit of spending a decade on each title he works on. Knowing that he's juggling Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15 concurrently to Final Fantasy 7 Remake, we will probably be in for a bloody long wait. That's why releasing it in parts is probably for the best. Let us give Square Enix the benefit of doubt, being that we have no evidence to suggest otherwise, but let us assume this isn't a cash grab strategy as many have accused, and every part is indeed very substantial. Would it still be an issue for gamers if it was very substantial in each part? I think not. I mean, for those who want to play it, it's been a long 10 years for Kingdom Hearts 3 and a little less for Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 15, formerly known as Final Fantasy Versus 13. Now, September 2017 will mark the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy 7, an important landmark for any franchise. A company like Square Enix would probably like to put out a product to coincide with this, so could that be the true reason for the seemingly episodic nature of Final Fantasy VII Remake? Now, assuming it was in development for some time prior to its original June E3 2015 announcement, it's not unreasonable to expect Part 1 making it to retail or PlayStation Network Store, or both by late 2017. The fact is that we still don't know very much about Final Fantasy Remake and its various installments. People are assuming they will all be priced at $60 each. But can gamers be blamed for their slight distrust of these publishers? After all, they are a business and have to consider the bottom line. But Square Enix, or Squeenix, is a company that knows full well how beloved Final Fantasy VII is. It spawned an entire sub-series on its own. But interestingly, and assuming the worst, let's just see how the company handles this delicate situation. Remember that the original Final Fantasy VII will always be around, and now with trophy support. Each part of Final Fantasy VII Remake is, well, I'm assuming, let's say it is 25 to 30 hours in total playtime, and came in, say, 3 or 4 possible parts costing around $30 each. Would that be so bad? Of course, the entirety of the game would potentially cost players something between $100 to $120, but how different is that to any given game plus its season pass? Although I understand the argument in that you don't have to purchase a season pass to enjoy the base of any game. However, 30 hours per part costing around, say, $29.99 is pretty reasonable in my opinion, and it saves us waiting till 2025 to play the entire game, if you look at it that way. But if we're talking how much we're willing to pay versus how substantial a game actually is, then look no further than the Order 1886 and the single player campaign of Halo 5 and other games that have less than 8 hours of single play time, yet gamers are willingly handing over their hard-earned $60. Think it over. Now, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm neither for nor against the argument of multi-part. I'm just giving you the ideology behind it and other possible futures in this game's release. So let us Final Fantasy VII fans remain cautiously optimistic. We still don't know how this is going to pan out, how long each episode or part will be, and exactly how many parts there will be, and of course just how much will each part cost the gamer. Until these details are fleshed out, a Final Fantasy VII Remake is still very much a fantastic prospect. But these are just my opinions. What are the opinions of Final Fantasy VII fans among you? Let us know in the comments. And very briefly, in other news, you may or may not have noticed that the PlayStation Share Factory got slow motion, time lapse, as well as a slew of other features that were released, I think last night or today or this morning or whenever. So you'll be able to use slow motion and or time lapse in the PlayStation 4 Share Factory app, starting with additional functionality which I haven't quite used yet, and I'm not going to use it for this video as I wanted to get this video out fairly quickly, but I'll let you know more details pretty soon about how it all works, and if it is indeed an improvement or a step back. Every time they seem to mess around with Share Factory, something's affected: audio quality, mic quality, whatever. Now, I would personally like for the ability to use external video, just like Share Factory allows external audio via USB. Still, it's nice to know Share Factory is getting useful support by the way of upgrade updates. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions, and particularly from fans of Final Fantasy series. Let me know how you feel about multi-parts, price versus exactly how much game we'll be getting in the comments section. Which brings us to the end of this particular video. If you enjoyed the content, poke the like button. As usual, help us reach more PlayStation fans by sharing this video, and subscribe for more PlayStation news, rumor and reviews. Until next time, play games, not corporations. Thanks for watching.